You are listening to the Toxic Mold Podcast with Steve Worsley, the toxic mold expert and your number one source for mold consulting and mitigation in the USA. Let's dive into a brand new episode.
Before we get started on this episode, here's a not-so-short disclaimer. While all attempts have been made to verify the content provided in this podcast, neither the podcaster nor the producers assume any responsibility for errors, omissions, or alternative interpretations of the issues discussed here. All information stated in this podcast is the opinion of Steve Worsley. Steve Worsley is a mold specialist with over 25 years of experience in the construction and mold industry. The Toxic Mold Podcast is for information sharing purposes only. The views expressed are those of the podcaster and his alone. These views should not be taken as expert instruction or commands. While there may be references to medical conditions and symptoms, all podcast episodes are the opinion of Steve Worsley, and any medical questions or concerns shall be addressed with the appropriate licensed medical professional or professionals. As the podcaster refers to different mold types, please be aware that Steve Worsley is not a microbiologist, and questions concerning mold specifics should be answered by the appropriate professional. Steve isn't, nor does he offer any legal advice. For any legal advice, you must speak to a lawyer. The listener is 100% responsible for his or her own actions. You can check out Steve's books on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and search for author Steve Worsley. You can also take Steve's mold education courses, such as Mold 101 and the Mycotoxin Prevention Kit, by going to cnccontractorservices.com. Again, check out his mold education courses at cnccontractorservices.com. Now, let's get to the episode.
Hello, you're listening to the Toxic Mold Podcast with myself, Steve Worsley. We have my wife, Cassandra. We'll call you the birthday girl because your birthday's this week.
Well, that's all month long celebrating.
Yeah. Our listeners have been hearing about this for a couple months
You'll
now.
hear it starting the middle of December, and you'll hear it all the way to the last day of January.
All right. Well, I hope all you listeners are having a great start to the new year. Something that's always a concern in the winter months is ice dams that lead to toxic mold. Do you know what an ice dam is?
No. You want to explain it to me?
So more or less what happens is, and it could be from lack of ventilation, lack of insulation. What happens is on the roof, let's just say there's ice built up. It thaws, and so obviously it turns into water, and then it gets up underneath the shingles, and then it freezes, and it causes an ice dam. Well, that ice dam prevents all the water from on top of the roof from running off the roof.
Okay.
It more or less brings it to the eave and underneath the roof. It's a big problem.
And what makes it such a big problem?
Because it leads to mold.
Because then eventually it melts underneath the eaves, and then
it melts underneath the shingles.
It gets
into the subroof, and gets into the attic.
And then it wets that material, which then creates and then humidity comes in, and then the mold has everything it needs to grow.
Exactly.
Okay.
And by the time you figure out something's going on, there's probably a ton of wood rot and water damage and mold.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's really one of those hidden manifestations that you don't know about until it's too far gone.
Yeah. Yep. It's like a drip, slow leak.
Okay.
Remember in a property we were in several years ago in the bathroom, in the master bath?
Yes. Oh, I remember that.
There was a drip leak.
Yes. That led to a mold issue.
And it was a major mold issue.
Yes, it was.
And it kind of there were no indications.
No.
Like once in a while, we'd see some water on the floor in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought maybe it was just from getting in and out of the shower. But remember, by the time we figured out what it was the whole, that whole area of the bathroom, the subfloor was all rotted. It was bad.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it was.
For our listeners, it's just something that you need to pay attention to. And, you can see it. Like, if you were to see icicles on your roof, that would tell us that the water's not running off the roof properly.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So icicles are not, let me ask you a different question. Most people who grew up in like the Northeast or somewhere cold, we just assumed icicles were normal and that icicles on a house should happen. Are you saying that icicles on a house shouldn't be happening?
No, they shouldn't be happening.
Oh, boy. That's a lot of houses that have problems then.
No, and growing up, we thought it was cool, and obviously you see
Okay.
it in, Christmas pictures or winter pictures. And yeah, I mean, that tells us, because the icicle's forming at the eave,
Yes.
that the water's not running off the roof like it should.
Oh my.
Now, does it always mean there's a problem? No.
Okay.
But it's telling me, like, the gutters are probably plugged,
Okay.
which typically in the wintertime, they're frozen, and there's all sorts of reasons it could happen. But yeah, icicles, I'm not saying they're a bad thing, but they're definitely not good.
Okay. So that's one thing people should be looking out for.
Exactly.
Icicles coming off of their
Yeah.
Is it eaves? No?
Yes, the
Okay.
eave.
Off the eave. Okay.
And, once again, every situation's different. If you have rain gutters, that tells us that they're not draining properly.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times I hear from my clients, they're like, oh, it's been doing that forever. I grew up in this home and then I bought it from my parents, and that's how it was as a kid. It doesn't mean it's right.
That's true.
So for our listeners, if you have icicles, you probably should take further steps,
Okay.
like do an inspection. And
That's a really good thing to know. How do we get from ice dams to mold? Like, how does that?
so, like I was explaining, the ice dam forms at the eave,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually, so it's trapping water. Then eventually the water's probably going to get into the subroof,
Okay.
and then it's going to get into the attic. So the subroof is a cellulose material.
Yes.
Obviously, the insulation's a cellulose material,
Correct.
and it's going to start growing mold. Well, for most homeowners and most of our listeners, you're not going to notice it till you see a water stain in your ceiling.
Oh, okay.
And so by the time you see that, just think about how long that's been going on.
Well, and I would assume insulation is also a cellular material, right?
Cellulose. Yep.
So if somebody did not install insulation
Correctly.
in an attic correctly, you're just giving more room for the moisture to feed the mold.
Exactly.
Okay.
For our listeners, and this, remediation in an attic is very expensive.
Yeah.
And for the most part, depending on the type of mold, if it's a toxigenic mold species, so it created mycotoxins, there's likely mycotoxins and contamination in the entire attic.
Oh my.
So, like the project that I was on in November, what did we have to do?
Remove all the insulation.
And that
In the
was
attic.
an undertaking.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Like, I didn't have to. They had laborers.
Yes.
I just oversaw it.
But I guess the whole point is that the ice dam could, over time, create a situation where not only do you have mold, but you have mycotoxins.
Right.
And where
Wood rot.
And you've got to replace all the insulation in the attic, right?
Yep. And
Okay.
you've got to replace the sheetrock in the ceiling
Wow.
that's below it. Then you got to reinstall insulation, which isn't cheap.
Wow.
So it's a big deal. And, for preventative measures, we'll get into that a little bit deeper. If your roof was installed properly, you should have what's called ice and water shield, which is the first row of tar paper before they put shingles up.
Okay.
So the tar paper goes over the subroof.
So it should, but what you're saying is that in many cases, the ice dam then leads to the ice dam and the trapped water then lead it to go to places that just make the cellulose material softer.
Yep, it's compromised.
Rots. It's compromised. That's the word. It's like it's compromised, and then the mold colony starts growing.
Yeah. So think about it this way: if there's an ice dam here and the water gets in below the eave, depending on your overhang, it would dictate a lot of the things. But you have soffits that are here. Then you have the exterior wall of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that water ran down that wall and it didn't come into the ceiling, you probably wouldn't see that for a long time.
Exactly.
But think about all the wood rot it would do to the exterior sheeting of the home. To get to all of that, you would have to remove the exterior finish of the house.
Wow. That's a lot of money and a lot of work.
So if it's brick, stucco,
that gets expensive fast.
Very, very. And think about it. If it's a single level home and there's a crawl space below it, and the water you don't see any water stains in the ceiling, it just is running down the wall. The water's going into the crawl space, so you could not see that for years and years.
Wow. So then what can somebody do to prevent this whole ice dam thing from happening?
Well, something we talk about all the time is routine inspections.
Okay. And when you say routine inspections, how often?
Well, when I say it, I'm saying it for our listeners to go do routine inspections 4 times a year.
Okay. Every quarter.
Yep.
Okay.
So it'll be in a couple months, but we'll have our spring checklist coming up and we will cover the attic and crawl space. But if you do routine inspections, you should be able to catch this. Now, depending on the layout of your home, like if you have a bunch of valleys up on the roof and it's what I call a chopped up roof,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you put water alarms, in the attic area. You could
Okay.
put humidity gauges. There's things you can do to prevent it. Now, going back to what we were talking about, like if you see the paint bubbling, like in the ceiling or on the wall towards the top,
Mm-hmm.
if it's the wall side, don't just ignore it
Okay.
because it goes away.
So any bubbling should not be ignored.
Exactly.
Towards the ceiling, the wall, anywhere. It's telling you there's
Yep.
something on the other side of that's going astray.
Yeah. Like water stains and paint bubbling is telling us there's something going on.
Okay. And it'll still more than likely still be odorless and colorless, and would it be?
Yeah, you're not going to see
Like,
anything.
I'm just thinking, like, would I see
Would you
mold,
smell mold?
or like,
No.
yeah, no, okay.
It depends. So, if it's the ceiling, the mold wouldn't be growing on the visible side.
It would be growing on the
It would be on
other
the attic side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it would be growing on the attic side, which is covered in insulation.
Okay.
Plus, we're talking about at the eave.
Yes.
So when you're up in the attic area, you can only get so far to even look.
Yes, you're not seeing it.
But you could see it, like an inspector that knows what they're doing.
Mhm.
We could see the insulation's discolored.
Okay.
Maybe it's all kind of pushed down, so it's not the same elevation. Like there's a lot of indicators if you know what you're looking for.
So that's where it really becomes important to hire a professional
Yeah.
if you suspect that this is what's going on.
Yeah, and going back to what we talked about earlier, don't just see icicles and go, "Oh, that's cool."
I know.
I'm going to take a picture and post it on
People just assume
Instagram.
that's what their house does in the winter.
Yeah, if that's the case, I guess our listeners, we kind of explained what to do, but something I didn't even talk about is you can put heat tape up on the roof.
And what does heat tape do?
Heat tape it's literally kind of looks like tape. So it's the stuff you'll see at the eaves on a house that does that.
Okay.
The jagged, V shape, upside down V.
Okay.
And it has a thermostat that's built into it, or, you could wire it through a thermostat. And what happens is when it gets below freezing, that tape, because it's heat tape, turns on and it melts all the stuff that's at the eave.
Okay. So it prevents ice dams.
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense.
And you can put like heat tape in gutters if your gutters are freezing up. Like, once again, everything mold is complex, but it just depends on, what's being affected, what's causing it. But heat tape is something, I should have brought that up earlier, but that's an easy fix.
Okay. That's really really good.
And think about it though, let's just say, for our listeners, let's say you put heat tape at the eaves,
Mm-hmm.
but you have grading and drainage issues at the ground level. Well, you're introducing all that water to the ground. If you have a basement or crawl space and the grading's not sloped properly, where's all the water going to go? Into the basement or the crawl space.
Or the crawl space. Oof. Then you've got the problem of the ice dam on top, and then you got the problem of the crawl space on the bottom.
Exactly.
Now you have two problems.
Exactly. But that's why it's so important to do routine inspections. We're going to go over the spring checklist, and it's not quite 2 months. I think March 8th is when we change our clocks. But
Okay.
But we'll go over stuff like grading and drainage, which grading and drainage includes gutters and then the dirt grade.
Absolutely. So what is your call to action for people?
Don't just assume those icicles are pretty and take pictures of it and post it on social media. Do something about it.
Especially if they're the massive icicles that you took pictures of at Shoshone.
Yeah, that was an icicle due to a water pipe break in the attic, but that was a massive. I forgot about that.
Yes.
Maybe I'll post that picture with this podcast
You should.
episode.
That was something.
Yeah, that was an undertaking.
Yeah.
That was a vacant home and water ran for a couple days.
So much.
And, maybe here in the near future we'll go over some nightmare scenarios of things I have seen, and we'll include that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, don't just assume icicles are pretty and just take a picture.
Yeah.
Because you'll be taking pictures of mold if you ignore it.
Exactly.
And we have all sorts of different services on our website, but one of the most popular ones is EMA testing, which is environmental mold and mycotoxin assessment. It's a test to determine if your home has mycotoxins. It's a DIY test. We offer packages where you more or less buy the kit. I analyze the results, give you feedback. We have another option where it includes a consultation. So for you listeners, if you're wondering, I just don't know if I have mold, I can't see it or smell it, buy the EMA test.
Absolutely. And they can find out how to buy it at cnccontractorservices.com, right?
Yeah, I'll put in the description, I'll put a link to which you would have to copy and paste it, but I'll put a link to buy the kit from our site.
Okay.
All right. We appreciate all you listeners. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you're concerned about toxic mold and the health of your home, mycotoxin testing could be your next step. Visit CNC Contractor Services to discover how easy it is to test for harmful mycotoxins, compounds released by toxic molds. These comprehensive testing kits can help you identify hidden threats in your air, dust, and surfaces. When you purchase mycotoxin testing from Steve Worsley, you can also opt to get expert testing and interpretation directly from Steve. Take control of your indoor air quality today. Check out mycotoxin testing at cnccontractorservices.com.